Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Muscle Connection podcast. Today's a solo episode. And what I want to do today is I know I saw a lot of podcasts and a lot of people do this towards the end of December, kind of year in review type stuff, right? I decided not to do that then. And so I am going to do a little bit of that now. But what I want to do is I want to have a little bit of a different spin on this. I'm going to go over my 2024 health and fitness takeaways that will help you in 2025. I want to go over my year, some life lessons, and then my outlook for 2025 and what I envision with the Mind Muscle Connection podcast and what I want to do overall. So I'm going to first start with some 2024 health and fitness takeaways that are going to help you in 2025. So these are just based on things that I learned last year. Continuing education is something that I also really enjoy as well too. I really love learning about all this stuff, right? So I spend a lot of time really diving into as much as I can with this. And again, it's not because I feel like I have to, it's because I genuinely want to and really enjoy this. So first thing there is, real quick. So I spend at least 30 minutes learning about anything health and fitness related. Weekends, maybe not so much, but during the week for sure, I'm definitely doing that. So again, it helps me improve my ability to help clients. And I just love, like I said, learning about this stuff too. And it obviously helps for my training and nutrition and everything like that as well too. Again, I just make it a priority to get this done and to spend time with this. Again, first one is protein is still the macro king. Again, all macros matter, but if you want to build muscle, lose fat, and feel satiated, we need to prioritize protein, period, right? If you're going to overeat a macro, make it be protein. Again, 1 gram per pound of body weight is still a solid number to aim for. And I bring this up because I feel like for a little bit of time, I was like, again, it's for a while, hey, protein's super important. Then I felt like people over prioritize protein. And then there's some research that came out that was like, hey, you could maybe be a little bit more flexible with it in terms of around your workouts, in terms of like timing and stuff like that. And I felt like I maybe shifted a little bit too far on that end of the spectrum, where I started maybe not being as diligent about getting protein in after my workout, maybe not getting it as much as I should have in general, right? And this is just more so based off of kind of my feel with it and where my tendencies are with protein. But definitely the kind of protein around workout was one that I maybe started to neglect a little bit too much. And again, I just felt like people were overemphasizing protein and it was like, oh, just protein. But again, reading more about protein, again, it is just super important, right? You need to make sure it's there. Again, like I said, it's going to help you feel satiated. It's going to put you in the best position to build muscle. Again, maybe if there were some researchers that said, hey, you can go as low as X amount of protein. Again, I still think it's safe to just hit 1 gram per pound of body weight. Again, plus or minus a little bit. You don't have to be exactly on top of it, but for sure, we want to get some protein in around our workout. We don't have to do it 5 minutes after our workout, but you probably don't want to go too long after your workout without getting protein in there. And there's a thermic effect of food as well too. Higher protein intakes are going to slightly increase your total daily energy expenditure. And again, those are things that we can't really underestimate or downplay the importance of that, because again, we really want to try to get everything in our favor here in terms of energy expenditure. So again, protein's still a macro king. And again, my thought on this is, hey, it's super important and we want to hit around 1 gram per pound of body weight with that, just to make it safe. Again, you can go higher if you want, but yeah. Okay, so next is circadian health matters more than you think. So sleep and sunlight impact metabolism, your hormones and recovery, and basically everything. Okay, so again, if our circadian health is off, everything's just going to be suboptimal, right? Our body's just not going to be as efficient and as effective as it could be. So again, a lot of our issues stem from poor circadian hygiene habits. So again, like eating too much late at night, stimulant alcohol use, poor sleep hygiene, mismanaged light exposure, right? These are all things that are going to put your circadian rhythm out of whack. Now, I always want to say you don't need to be overly stressed about every single one of these, but again, the more we can get these in check, the better we're going to be, and the more, just like I said, efficient body composition change is going to be. And the more that these are off, the more it's going to feel like you're moving uphill, and that or you're having to go uphill for every little change. And there's probably going to be some issues down the line as well too, from an overall health perspective, if this is off, especially if, again, we're consuming alcohol a good amount 2 to 3 times a week. We're eating late at night, right before bed. We're having too much caffeine too late in the day. Again, we're getting a bunch of blue light right before bed, or we're not getting sunlight at all. We're not getting outside, right? Again, if these are off, it's going to impact basically every bodily function in your body. And again, it's just going to lead to, one, a tougher time changing your body, but also health issues down the line. You're going to be at a higher risk of any issue. Even if you're someone who is generally healthy, you exercise, you stay active, you eat relatively well. If this is off, again, you're going to have a tougher time changing your body. And again, if you are already somewhat predisposed to any sort of issue in terms of type 2 diabetes, which again is more of a lifestyle thing, but some people do have a higher risk. Again, any cardiovascular disease, stuff like that. Like it's just going to be something that's going to make it a little bit easier for it to happen if you're not careful with some of these things. So again, to me, circadian health is just super important. And today's modern environment makes it very challenging to keep it on track. It's just very easy to let it get out of sync. And again, this can cause some issues. So definitely something that you'd want to check out there. 3, metabolic health is important, right? So yes, calories in, calories out still determine weight gain and weight loss. So we want to make sure that's in a good spot. But what we eat and our metabolic health. So again, like fuel utilization, how does your body utilize carbohydrates and fats for energy? How does your body shift the fuel preference there for that? Blood sugar stability, hormones, and things are going to, your metabolic health is going to impact these things. And again, it's going to, if our metabolic health is off, it's going to determine how efficient we are at that, at this. So again, this is something where if we go back to circadian hygiene, circadian health, if that's off, it's going to put your metabolic health and it's going to decrease it. And again, over time, this could be problematic, but also what we eat. And this is going to play a big role in this. And again, our body composition as well, too. All these things do go hand in hand. But again, if our body composition is off, again, we're not in great metabolic health because we're not doing the habits that we need to, or maybe we're overstressed, or again, things that are going to impact your metabolic health are going to be, again, your body composition, food choices, macronutrient intake, sleep, stress, circadian hygiene. Like these are all going to be things that impact it. And the more that those are off, your metabolic health could be thrown off. So again, you could take someone who is super active, they're relatively lean, but they eat a diet that they just try to maintain their lowest body weight. Maybe they're not getting as many whole foods as they need. They're super stressed. They have high perceived stress, but they're also stressing their body because they train super hard, but they're not bringing in enough calories. They don't sleep well. Again, these are things that can start to impact your metabolic health. And it's going to be really hard to make change to your body. It's going to be really hard to be in an optimal body composition standpoint there. We want to look at our metabolic health. Another takeaway is our environment works against us. From endless calorie-dense food options to low activity levels, we're set up to fail unless we're intentional about movement, nutrition, and habits. Again, if we don't take care of each of these core aspects of our health, it's easy for it to slip unless you just are someone who either genetically your body's resilient to it, or you just are someone who like maybe you grew up in terms of, okay, you just have a low stress lifestyle, right? Like you just don't get super stressed about things, but you could be stressing your body elsewhere in terms of, hey, maybe you don't get good sleep, you eat a ton of processed food, you have caffeine late in the day, you consume a good amount of alcohol, right? So there are other things that can happen. But if we look at my 5 pillars of body recomping, we're looking at our training, right? So weight training, so cardio, nutrition, overall movement, lifestyle, which would be like sleep and stress, other stuff from a lifestyle perspective, and the mindset. Again, there's a lot of things that if we could be good in a couple of those things, but if we just go with the norm for a few things, again, maybe it's a lifestyle perspective that's going to hold you back. And again, the way the modern environment is set up, your lifestyle is not going to be optimal to being in great health. So again, this comes back to circadian health. Again, if you're someone who maybe you crush training, you get plenty of movement, your nutrition's pretty good, but you enjoy maybe staying up late, watching TV, you like to hang out with people super late at night, maybe you eat later at night, stuff like that, or maybe you have a job that you have to work late, or you like to do work late, whatever it is, that's going to impact that side of things, right? Because just the modern environment is not conducive to some of these healthy lifestyle habits that not saying we've always been healthy, but like just where we evolved, right? So again, there's that. But then also from a stress perspective, maybe you're good at sleeping, but from a stress perspective, it's really easy to just let stress run rampant in today's modern environment with, again, like social media, with being able to connect with anybody at any moment in time. Again, those are a few things there, but also stress in terms of how we're stressing our body there, right? And then from a mindset perspective, I think it's the same thing, right? Like it's easy to get into a negative mindset in today's modern environment. Nutrition, that's pretty obvious, right? It's, again, people that listen to this, you probably at least have some focus on your nutrition, but again, even if you do, it's easy to really let that get out of whack because today's modern environment has a ton of calorie-dense foods that are designed to get you to eat more and want to continue to eat and not really feel like you're eating a lot, so you overconsume calories. From a movement perspective, today's modern environment is designed to get us to not, we don't have to move unless we seek out activity. Unless you're someone who maybe has a job that is very active, then okay, then you're fine, right? Training, again, most people, you enjoy it, or you're trying to change your body or whatever it is. Again, today's modern environment is not conducive to people training as well too. And also we didn't really evolve to go train and exercise. Like it was just built into our day. We had to do it as we evolved until today's modern environment right now that impacts that. So again, our environment works against us. And if we're not careful with, like, in terms of practicing moderation around things, it can just be really easy to let your physical health or your mental health decline. And so we live in a great time where we have really everything we could possibly want. But with that comes some trade-offs. And again, one of those things, I think one of the best skills you can learn, and this is going to be in my life lesson, is some form of moderation or abstinence. It's just unfortunately how it needs to be in today's world. If you, again, just do what you feel like all the time, and oh, hey, I just feel like doing this, I don't have to go out of my way and get uncomfortable to make a choice that, again, in the moment doesn't feel good. If we just go off of that all the time in terms of, hey, this is what I want right now, we're going to struggle. Right. So that's what I mean by our environment works against us. And like I said, there's people that, again, you may be someone who trains regularly, you eat decently from a nutrition perspective, but again, there could be other aspects that are off. Again, I think it's learning how to work with this modern environment that is going to be key moving forward. The next one is cardio is great. It's not the enemy of muscle gain. It supports heart health, recovery, and fat loss when used strategically. So again, I was someone who was pretty anti-cardio for a while, but definitely over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've really come to enjoy doing it and just learning more about it and its benefits. And so again, I think a lot of people would benefit from doing some form of cardio regularly. Now, again, if you're someone who does a ton already and you don't really weight train, maybe you need to focus a little bit more on weight training. But a lot of people listen to this, you're going to be weight training. And so I think a lot of people could benefit from doing more structured cardio, not just cardio for cardio's sake to just burn more calories and just get your heart rate up. It's, again, structured cardio. That's the key there with that. But again, cardio is great. And you definitely should at least do a little bit throughout the week. Stress isn't bad. Mismanaged stress is. So you don't need to and don't want to eliminate all stress. So we do want stress. So some stress, like training, for example, makes you stronger and more resilient. So there is some good stress, right? There's some stressors that are going to improve your kind of stress response and whatnot, right? But too much chronic stress and poorly managed stress equals decreased health. So that's what we're looking at here, right? We're looking at chronic stress. We're looking at chronic stressors on the body. And then we're also looking at not having healthy ways to manage stress, because again, going and training and doing an hour-long cycling class or F45 class or theory class is not stress management. That's just going to add stress to the body because, again, it's a stressor. That's not what we mean by that. We want to do some form of activities that bring you in a more relaxed state. That's what we're looking at here when we say managing stress. Because again, most people, either they're someone who their only way they manage stress is by high intensity training, or again through like alcohol, or again other things. I don't want to just pick on alcohol because there's a lot of other ways. Food, right? Food's a way that you can poorly manage stress. Other drugs as well too, right? There's a lot of other things that people could, again, using social media potentially could be detrimental. There's a lot of ways that we could poorly manage our stress. Or again, you take something like a video game, and this all comes back to moderation. Video games can be great, but if that's how you manage stress and then now it leads to unproductive habits because you're playing too much and now you can't do the things that you need to do, then that's where it's poorly managed stress, right? So again, it's all about finding ways to lower that, things that kind of relax you, that are more restorative, but also understand that too much stress and then the poorly managed stress, that's the real kind of big issue here, right? So again, to come back to chronic stress, this is someone who maybe has higher body fat levels. Again, people can say what they want. Hey, you can be somewhat mentally, you can be healthy at any size, but from overall physical health, again, once we start getting to these higher body fat levels, unfortunately, maybe not right now, your health isn't bad, but over time, that is a stressor on the body, right? And so again, getting to more healthy body fat levels, right? So again, higher body fat levels would be something that's a stressor on the body. Too low of body fats is a stressor on the body as well too, right? So I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, hey, it's just high body fats. It's also super low body fats like that. That is a stressor on the body as well too. So if you are that person, again, just understand that is also a stressor, right? So there's a lot of stressors on the body that people don't necessarily think about, right? So again, too much training compared to low recovery, that's a stressor on the body, right? Not getting enough sleep, that's a stressor on the body. Again, poor circadian health, that's a stressor on the body. Yes, you being stressed about the weather or traffic, like that's stress, that's perceived stress, but it all falls into the same bucket. So again, if we don't have ways to manage it, that's where it can be, where we can run into some issues here. So I got two more here. Calorie ranges and minimums are greater than exact numbers. So instead of obsessing over perfect calorie and macro counts, aim for ranges and minimums to stay consistent without getting caught up in numbers. So again, I like ranges and minimums better than exact numbers. I think we need to move away from exact numbers and we need to go more towards ranges and minimums. And that's what I work on with clients. And then lastly, we have training intensity is greater than training volume. So you don't need endless sets and hours in the gym to grow muscle. You just need better programming and to push yourself harder during fewer sets and do more if you enjoy it and you have the time and you want to maximize muscle growth. But if you don't have a lot of time and you're doing 20 plus sets per muscle group, again, it's probably a quality thing that needs to be worked on. If we can increase that training intensity, you're going to be able to get away with a lot less, which in turn is going to save you time and make your workouts more effective. Again, then I'm not saying you should never do high training volumes, and I think there's a time and place for them. And if you enjoy it and you have the time, then you should, and you really want to build a lot of muscle, then you may want to push up that volume. But if you're someone who you don't have a ton of time to train, we need to ramp up that training intensity there. So those are my 2024 takeaways. Now I want to go in my 2024 year in review and then life lessons. 2024 was a very interesting year for me. A lot happened, right? Found out we were pregnant in January. We moved into our new home, right? So again, those were two things that happened in a very short amount of time. We had our son Colby in September. We went to Arizona, 115-degree weather for our baby moon. It was fun. We spent a lot of time in the pool, but definitely not the coolest place. And when I say cool, it's cold weather-wise. It was definitely cool. A cool place to visit for sure. Went to N1 Practical in Colorado I think that was the end of March. That was awesome. Continued to have a ton of clients, continue to crush it. Built out my home gym as well too, which super excited about that. Still want to add stuff to that, but it takes a little bit of time to do that. So those are kind of my big things from 2024 there. It wasn't a lot, but the quality of it was very high, right? Moving into a new home, that's a big quality thing. Finding out you're pregnant, having a baby, those are like it's not a lot of stuff, but the amount of it is massive, right? So yeah. All right. So now I want to go over my lessons from 2024 in terms of like life lessons. So first, we need to reflect on how far we've come. It's easy to focus on where you're trying to go and forget to acknowledge the progress you've already made. So growth isn't just about the destination. It's about appreciating the journey. And I'm inspired by this, by The Gap in the Game by Dan Sullivan. So again, it's easy to forget about where we've come and just keep thinking about, oh, this is where I want to go. Why am I not here? Or why am I not there? And again, we need to take a step back and think about how far we've come. Because we don't do that, we're really missing out and we're probably setting ourselves up to be unhappy. And look, this is something for me that is a challenge at all times, right? I still want to continue to grow, but I need to take a step back and think about where I've come. And again, it's a hard thing to do. You really have to take a step back and think about it, right? But again, if you can do that, I feel like your happiness will increase, your satisfaction will increase, and probably your productivity, because you'll be like, hey, I am growing, right? Next, life is a game of trade-offs. So you can't have everything, and that's okay. Success comes from prioritizing what matters most to you and letting go of the rest. So again, when we decide to do something, that means we're saying no to a bunch of other things. I see this a lot with health and fitness, where people want to be super shredded. They want to have as much muscle as possible. They want to run the fastest mile. They want to also run a marathon. They want to do a strongman. Maybe throw in a little bit of powerlifting in there. I want to be super athletic, also super mobile, and I need to be shredded in 2 weeks. Look, we need to prioritize. We can't have everything. Like, some things are going to be important, like something, and you just have to figure out what you can and can't do. For me, this was a huge lesson with having our son, where it's, man, I can't do all the stuff that I used to be able to do, right? You have to prioritize a little bit more. I'm still figuring that out as well too, right? It's hard. But again, it's like, from a work standpoint, there's a lot of things now that, again, I have to be a little bit more strategic with what I do, and I can't just do everything that I was before. So again, life's a game of trade-offs. And so again, let's take this from a body composition standpoint, you want to get lean, the trade-offs are going to be, you're probably not going to be able to eat anything and everything you want. You're going to have to make sacrifices there. You're going to have to be a little hungry. You might not be able to go out and just do whatever you want when you hang out with your friends. So again, that's what I mean there. There's going to be some trade-offs, right? Again, a lot of people don't think about those things, and it's just, oh, hey, I want to be lean, but I don't want to give up anything. So it's going to be hard to do. 3, the goal is not to have any stress. We need at least some stress in our lives. That's how we grow. So again, goes back to the stress side of things. Like, we want some stress and we need some. Again, the goal isn't to just not have a life of no stress. Like, you want some because that's how you're going to grow. But we want to, again, make sure that it's not too much and it's not just from poor stressors, essentially. You have to learn how to moderate, say no in today's world. In today's world of endless choices and distractions, learning how to moderate and say no is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. So again, this comes back to what I was talking about. Today's modern environment we have to learn how to work with these things. You can literally have whatever you want at any time, but that comes with a cost. And again, this comes back to life's a game of trade-offs, right? So I think one of the best skills you can learn is how to moderate, say no, and abstain from certain things. It's more about that than anything else. And lastly, there's no final summit, right? We often imagine there's a final destination where everything will fall into place, but that's an illusion. Growth is ongoing, and the journey itself is what truly matters there. Again, you're not, with your health and fitness, you're probably never going to get to the peak summit, and then all things are good, and you can just go back to If you want to maintain it, you want to keep growing, like you're going to have to make it a part of your life. And again, that comes back to the trade-offs, right? So a lot of these are intertwined, but those are my main life lessons from 2024. Let me know if you agree or have any questions on those. So lastly, I want to wrap this up with kind of my health and fitness outlook for 2025 and just my goals from a training perspective. So my 2025 health and fitness mission, continuing to double down on a health first approach to body composition, right? So I want to help you transform your body in a way that prioritizes health, performance, and long-term health success. So again, we need to make sure those are in check. So again, what does that look like? Training smarter, right? So finding the right blend of training for your goals and current needs, not just lifting more and more, or just burning the most calories, getting the most out of your training for the time you are putting in. So again, my content is going to be geared towards that. Strategic nutrition, eating to reach healthy body fat levels that you feel best at while supporting energy, focus, and performance. So we want to make sure that you feel good in that process, right? So feeling your body so you can train hard, work hard, and live well. Building habits that make nutrition simple and sustainable for the long haul. So again, working through some of the BS that you hear out there, but also again, making that understanding that, hey, for some of you, you might need to lose some body fat. For some of you, you might need to build some muscle. But again, a lot of the principles are still going to overlap because again, we want to make sure that you feel good in that process as well too. And then at some point, we want to feel your body so you can train hard and work hard, right? So you feel good. So you don't always have to feel like you're eating 1,200 calories. Again, lifestyle habits that support success. So focusing on things like sleep, stress, hydration, mindset, and movement, because what happens outside the gym matters just as much, right? Making changes that improve your quality of life now and set you up for a healthier future. So again, we're looking at now, but also how's this going to impact you in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? So those are the things I want to continue to bring here to the mind muscle connection. Again, I'll have guests on that bring that. You might see a little bit of a shift of, again, still a lot of hypertrophy type guests, but also starting to transition a little bit into more like overall health focus, long-term health type stuff like that. My personal health and fitness goals for 2025, be a little more intentional about improving cardiovascular fitness while continuing to focus on adding as much muscle as possible in that process. Again, the benefits of improving your cardiovascular fitness for overall health and long-term health are just undeniable at this point, but I selfishly want to continue to add more muscle for vanity reasons, right? So for me, it's continuing to find that right blend. So my first kind of order of business so far is getting a little more structure with cardio training, dialing back weight training to 3 times per week to see how it goes. Again, I may switch back to 4 days of lifting, but basically since 2009, I've been lifting weights 4+ times per week. So probably not the worst thing for my body to dial back for a short amount of time there. So again, we want to make sure that just dialing back and I may end up doing this long term. We'll just see how it happens. So far, I feel pretty good. I really like where my body composition is at. Continuing to improve my overall diet pattern and paying attention to how it makes me feel. I'm still going to enjoy tasty food, but continue to eat in a way that supports training and how I feel. So again, like energy levels, focus, gut health, etc. I want to make sure that the food I eat makes me feel good. I want to enjoy food because I really do love food. I love tasty food, but I also need to, for me, it's also important I need to stay in good health, and also things like gut health, skin health, stuff like that are super important as well too. Continue to focus on improving recovery, sleep, stress management. I have some things I can work on here. Overall caffeine intake, caffeine timing, in parentheses, I have damn coffee, getting to bed a little earlier, being better about turning my mind off, et cetera. Again, these are all things that I can work on from that perspective. And I want to continue to work on this year because interestingly, so far, my resting heart rate's been a lot higher the last 3 to 4 weeks. And so I've really been trying to focus on more restorative, getting to bed earlier. I freaking went to bed at 9:30 the other night. I will likely dip into a deficit at some point in 2025 when, who knows, I haven't been in a deficit since the fall of 2023. So it's probably time to get into one, at least for a short amount of time here at some point. Again, I'm at about 165, 166, 166 pounds. We're looking at 155 to 160 probably there. And then, so yeah, that's it really with this. Let me know if there's anything that you learned in 2024, whether from the podcast or anything like that. I'd love to hear what your health and fitness goals are for 2025. So reach out to me on Instagram, Chen_. Love to hear a little bit more about that. And if you just have any questions on mine or any of my lessons or anything like that. So we'd love to hear more from you guys. So if you could share it with me. And that's it for this episode. I hope this was interesting and gave you an insight into 2024 and what I'm looking at for 2025, even though as I'm recording this, we're already a freaking month down, which is crazy. It goes by quick. It's easy to think, oh, I have plenty of time, but again, we're already a month down. So let me know if you guys need anything. I hope this was helpful. Give me some feedback on this episode, and I'll chat with you guys next time.